Hello there, Internet, and you amazing creatures of the beyond. So, I believe you all, or most of you, remember the movie called Sixth Sense, where the child says, I see dead people. Yeah, it was such a cool quote, so I thought I would change it a little bit to fix the heading of our topic for today. So, I'm always intrigued by dwelling on the supernatural and believing that there's something beyond our reach that we can tap through the veil of the unknown. But the reality is that there is a little bit of truth to that, to the unknown, but science shows that it's not exactly what we think it is. And brains are a very fascinating organ because they can create reality based on our thoughts. And it can go so far because it is so complex and so intricate that it can do various weird things to us that we are not even beginning to comprehend yet. And hearing imaginary sounds, it's not something too far fetched. Like a lot of people can hear these sounds, and it's more common than you believe. For example, sometimes you may hear like something fell on the ground or a door has slammed or something like that. A very short sound. And that usually happens when you're very stressed or very tired. And that's when you're the most likely to for your brain to be confused, and anything that your brain feels like it's trying to catch your attention, it tries to fire this warning that kind of makes this illusion of hearing things. But of course, there's a special type of people out there who can actually hear audible voices that can pronounce words and phrases and so on, and also have a scope to what they're saying. Of course, it's not as easy to describe as being an imaginary friend or an imaginary voice, but in reality, for these people, this type of situations occur after a trauma, or maybe if there is some sort of malformation within the brain itself. And basically, in simple terms, what happens is that the brain is capable of recognizing your voice pronounced through your vocal cords. And it can differentiate between the actual voice that you speak through your mouth versus the voices or the voice that you envision in your mind when you're thinking of something. So basically, there are two different voices, and they're very distinct from the brain. And it's very distinct for yourself as well, because you you know that when you're speaking, you're hearing your own voice. When you're thinking, you're hearing yourself inside your mind, and it's not hitting the same intonations and levels of tune that you're used to. But if your brain is incapable of managing this balance, the voices in your mind might sound totally different. It could have a male or a female type of voice, and it could even start to create its own type of persona, because there's always an alter ego in ourselves. That's how our minds work. There is a duality. But this duality, the more it is helped by the brain to achieve this inner voice that we perceive as realistic and distinct from our own, it starts to kind of work against us. Of course, it's still us, but there is such a rupture between our personality and that of our subconscious that we give it a life of its own. So when people start to hear these voices, they all think, oh, they're crazy or something like that, or they hear ghosts or dead people or whatever. When in reality, it's just their brains acting up, and it's difficult to. I mean, for these people to have a normal life with these voices. And of course, there is medication for this and psychological procedures that help, but all this can mitigate it because at the end of the day, the brain is an organ and it has the ability to chemically change within itself. And sometimes the um, change could be permanent, or sometimes it can be alleviated or healed, but it takes a very long time from what I have seen through others people experience. I'm talking, and yeah, that's how it happens for you if you happen to hear voices. That your brain is capable of creating these personas. Um, Okay, so yeah, but of course, this is not only related to you hearing a voice, like people who hear voices that tell them to do bad things or influence them in some way. They're more leaned into things like multiple personality syndrome or being bipolar or anything related to an imbalance with their mental control. Um, But there is also an interesting thing because you can induce hearing voices, basically reprogramming the brain to think that way. Because the brain is easy to trick if you know how, and if you learn your, how should I say, psychological behaviors. And I think you guys have seen that experiment where they put a slit in the middle of the table, and on the left side they put your left hand, and on the right they put an identical hand or something that simulates your right hand, but it's basically made out of I don't know, plastic or rubber. And they take two feathers and they go across the fake hand and your hand at the same time, and your brain starts to perceive that you have two hands, and that extra hand that is on the table, it is absorbed as a phantom limb, if you want to think of it like that. And the moment somebody steps the fake hand, you automatically detect your left hand because you think it's also stabbed. So the brain can incorporate these things if it truly believes it's part of it. So in the same sense, you can induce through various techniques to invent these voices and to make them gain their own personalities. But of course, I I do not recommend you go down that path because the condition could be reversible and it can affect you in a very negative way. And yeah, don't do it. um, but again, we live in a very strange world and in a very strange reality. So I think science is the best tool for us to discover all of these things that are so confusing for us and hard to grasp. Because it's so easy to fool ourselves if we start to believe that we hear ghosts and we're reaching into the veil of the ether or something like that. That we dropped into that confusion, and obviously that's this unexplained phenomena for us without science kind of give us that comforting feeling that it's something that we're familiar with, an explanation that we're familiar with, and we kind of say, hey, it's not us, it's the ghost. Then you can kind of project that outwards, but it's not healthy, obviously. And the wheels of silence churn out very slowly, but once they manage to make a big breakthrough, because we clearly do not know all the answers to the universe, but once they unravel something that we have always put under the mask of mysticism, uh, the answers could be far more intriguing than we thought about. And we just need to have a very calm patience to achieve that. Because when we rush to opinions, we lie to ourselves. And if we have this calm patience, the mysteries of the universe will eventually unravel themselves like the majestic petals of a lotus flower, just to be poetic. So it's up to us to embrace these answers and how we wish to put them to good use, to better the future of our humanity. Okay, guys, you stay awesome. I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye, 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 bye.